Welcome to Sports World 2020. I am your host, Empress Rose. And so today I'm going to be touching bases with 100-meter sprinter, uh, chilling with Ferdinand Omanlaya. And I hope I'm not saying his name correctly. I tell you, for all our listeners, he is one of the, coolest guys that I've come across in terms of interviewing. But again, as interviewing the sprinters is always fun because it is that they can be edgy, they can be quiet, and of course it is that they are, they're out there getting the job done. But it's always fun to talk to them off the field itself. Hi, Ferdinand. How are
Yeah,
you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me here. I
Okay.
feel good to be part of this conversation today.
Well, for our listeners, Ferdinand has punched his ticket to the Olympics, Tokyo Olympics 2020. Well, 2020, that's happening in 2021. So today I'm
Yeah,
catching up with him to get a sense as to, the dynamics of him getting into his race. And, we've been going through a COVID-19 period, and I want to find out exactly how it is that he has been dealing with, what exactly COVID has, um, thrown at them in Kenya, so to speak. So Ferdinand, you're doing well. We have, our audience who is currently tuning in and would like to know a few questions as well. So I'm going to touch on a few questions that the audience would like to ask you. But before we
yeah,
get
no
into the
problem.
sprinting dynamics, let's introduce to our audience just who Ferdinand is. So tell me, give me an idea or talk to me about a younger Ferdinand before you got into sprinting.
So Ferdinand is a right now is a 25-year-old guy,
Mhm.
uh, a sprinter, soon to be an Olympian because I've not competed yet. Previously, I used to play rugby. I did not have the dream of competing at this level that I am now as an athlete. I used to be a rugby player in high school.
Mhm.
In Kenya, it's Form 3 and Form 4, the last 2 years of your high school years in Kenya. So that's how I got into sport. And I was too fast for the people at the wing because most of these guys couldn't chase me and they could just be falling behind. They could not be catching me. So that's how I realized I could run fast. But previously, before I joined high school, we used to do competitions with my brothers who are elder than me. But then at those competitions, I used to beat them. So I knew I could sprint, but I did not know that I could reach the level that I am sprinting now.
Wow. Well, you know what's quite interesting as well is outside of track, like I ran track. Okay. And I remember one of the funnest things is that playing, to some persons it's playing dress up because it is that they see you as an athlete in your athletic attire and they don't see you outside of that when you're dressed up. So when they do, it's kind of like, whoa, wait a second. You're not in track close today, or even the hobbies that we have outside of track itself. We're going to
Yeah.
get into what exactly it is that you're studying now, later on in the show. But what exactly are your hobbies outside of track and field?
As a track and field, I like watching movies and I love traveling and doing shopping. That is, if I have money to do the shopping. But I love I love do, I love doing shopping. I love traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this sport because it's giving me the pleasure of traveling around the world. Because if you just travel around the world, go to compete at different tracks, it's my hobby to just board these planes and travel and just leave this country and go and then come back after some weeks later.
Speaking of traveling, what is your favorite place that you have traveled? Not in terms of competing itself, but a city that you have visited that you love, and you says, well, outside of Kenya, this is my favorite place to be. What's that one
that
place?
was that one is the first place I visited in my athletics career. I loved Bahamas. Bahamas was one of the countries that I cannot forget up to now, because whatever the experience that I went through there, it's still fresh in my mind. Because I remember when I came back from Bahamas, I still had some, let's say, how do I call it? Something like a homesick for like 2 weeks. I could not recover from the memories that I had back
Wow.
in Bahamas. So that's a place that I want to visit again and again in my
Mhm.
lifetime.
Wow. So you love the Bahamas. So it's safe to say that you may actually, it's probably on your list of things or your bucket list that you would like to visit some of the other Caribbean countries as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Oh,
Actually, if I do well at the Olympics, I think I'll go to the Bahamas.
oh, nice, nice, nice. I've been to Bahamas. It's one of my favorite places as well. It's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. And when you talk about the Caribbean, the Caribbean islands, that's me all day.
Yeah,
I think, diversity and being able to see the culture and the different aspects in terms of just how the people, bond with you one on each island is something that's,
yeah.
you know, kind of
it
interesting.
it gives out. Yeah,
Yeah, it gives out a different perspective as well. Um,
yeah.
so you have traveled to the Bahamas. Have you been able to travel to Europe as well thus far?
No, no, I haven't traveled to Europe yet,
Hmm.
but it's still part of a journey this season.
Yeah.
After the Olympics, we might go for some races in Europe, but not yet confirmed. But I hope that we get those ones.
Speaking of races in Europe, I know that you have now completed your Kenyan trials. Are you looking to run any more races before heading off to the Olympics, or you're pretty much ready to go right now?
Now, this year, since I started January, I've run so many races.
Hmm.
So for this, it's only a month to the Olympic Games, and I think I'll just give it up. I'll give all the races and just train and focus at the Olympics.
Awesome. So, um, do you remember your first race? Your first race ever? Do you remember your first race?
Yeah,
Tell
I
me a
do.
little
I
bit.
do.
You do. So tell me a little bit about your
Yeah.
first race and, just how you were able to, you know, did you actually realize when you ran for the first time, did you do well? Because they're different athletes. Some athletes, they tried competing, they didn't go well, and this is, what, I had enough. And then there's some athletes that's just like, okay, I did this, I did not do well the first time, and I'm going to attack it, and each time I'm going to do better. When you did your first race, do you remember your first race? And
Yeah.
is it something that you said to yourself, one of these days I'm going to be my Olympic athletes, and now you're living out that dream?
Yeah, I remember my first race. Actually, I had just downloaded the calendar of events. I was a really amateur because I could not even stand myself wearing a tight
Mm-hmm.
alone. So I went to this race wearing a tight and a rugby short.
Yeah.
And I remember it was on 2016 around March. I boarded a bus to Uptown, a place called Mumias. That was the first Athletics Kenya meeting that was being held that year. So when I got there, I was so nervous because there were these big guys, big sprinters, guys who have traveled the world and seen things. I'm just here coming from university, a first year, a very naive guy. I don't know how things are done. I don't even know how to warm up, and I'm here. So I got into this race, and then I was looking at these big guys, and I'm saying, no, no, no. I don't think I'm going to race this one. But I told myself I cannot move all the way from Nairobi to that place, a distance of around 9
Mm-hmm.
hours, and then just come and chicken out. So I said, let me give it a try. And
Wow.
to my surprise and to the surprise of so many people, I won that event, my first ever race, and I'm winning an event. And then these guys are giving me 5,000 shillings, a token of appreciation. Actually, I earned it. I won that event. I was given 5,000 shillings. I was so motivated, and I think that was part of the base that it built up a foundation for me towards this career that I'm living now. So I won my first race, although I was so scared. But that one it was like a build up for me.
Is it so much the prize that the fact that you won that prize? Is it so much that fact that keep you going, or the fact that it is that you now recognize to yourself that, wow, I can be a great athlete based on what has happened? And am I correct that you said you started running in 2016?
Yes, I started running in 2016. Actually, not about the money,
Wow.
but it was something good that I received after I did that. So what has been keeping me going is that I told myself that I can do it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's my first race, and I'm
Yeah.
running and I'm winning. So that means winning is with me. So I'll carry it wherever I go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now you're in university. What field of study are you pursuing?
I'm a Bachelor of Science student pursuing chemistry, pure
Chemistry.
chemistry. Yeah.
Uh, okay, and you're hoping at some point to be able to graduate and move on. What's your preferred field in terms of profession based on this study?
Uh, yeah, I like to go to the field where we manufacture medicine, mix chemicals, and come up with medicine and
Mhm.
vaccines to cure diseases.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
speaking of wanting to be able to make vaccines and be able to, distribute to persons within the country itself.
Yeah.
We've gone through the period of the COVID-19 period where it is that it affected so many persons on so much different levels. Now, for yourself, how has it affected your training? Were you still, you've been able to execute and you've run an awesome time that you're going to talk about that time. We're going to talk about the experience itself. But in terms of, training and being able to do that on a consistent level, how has COVID-19, did it have an effect on your training consistency?
Yeah, it did. At first, I thought like it's come and spoiled everything.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, if you ask me, I'll say COVID was like a blessing in disguise for me because it caused the Olympics to be postponed. I did not know if I could qualify last year. And then another thing is that it gave me time, ample time to train continuously, like 6 months or 7 months, without any competition, without any breakups to prepare for races or competitions. So I was building up myself for 7 months. Imagine training for 7 months. You wake up every day, Monday to Saturday, training for 7 months without any competition. That was something that I think has built me up for this year and given me these good times that I've run this year.
Well, I tell you what, the world is smiling on the fact that, in terms of what it is that you have delivered. I actually have seen the comments are through the roof in terms of what exactly it is that you have done by running an excellent time, and your performance speaks volume in terms of the Olympic trials itself. Did you have any idea that, or when did you came to the realization that, listen, I am on my way to something huge?
It started in January because I remember my first ever race was on 9th of January,
Mm-hmm.
and I ran a 300 meters of 32.7 seconds. And I knew this was big. I knew this season has started on a very high note. So 2 weeks later, I broke the national record, 10.11, but it was considered with aided.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew after I ran the 10.11, I did not feel like I've run fast. I felt my body is just still in check. So 3 weeks later, I went to I again ran 10.19. So I knew this year is going to be a very great year. So we just build up for in that. I went to Nigeria, so now I ran 10.01. I went to South Africa, I ran 10.06. I came back to Kenya, I ran 10.02. I'm going to Tokyo. I don't know what will happen, but I see a sub 10 coming. So it's something that it started building up in January.
Um, Quite impressive. Quite impressive. So right now you are currently in camp.
Yeah, we are the Tokyo Olympic camp.
Okay. So now, for most sprinters, it is that, well, for some sprinters, the concentration is only on 100. You did not qualify in the 200.
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
yeah I did not qualify the 200 meters because when I started running fast in the 100 meters, all the shift and concentration now shifted to 100 meters, and then I had a problem with the curves.
Mhm.
We did not have so much time to do the curve and to get the technique of running the curve, because you have to use a certain technique. So all the times I was running the 200 meters, I was ending up pulling a muscle at the curve. So I decided to put it outside a little bit for this season, and then we'll pick
Mhm.
it up after the season is over.
So, okay, you have the 100, you have the 200, the 400. And so for even some of our listeners or some of our viewers, they don't, at times they're like, well, I've seen this athlete run a 200 and I think they're better in the 200, the 400, and they don't understand that sometimes you would literally have to like break it down just to one event, especially when we're talking about the Olympics. We're talking about the various rounds that you would have to go through, and
Yeah,
dependent on what event it is. You have sprinters that are doing 100, 200, and 400, and it gets very toxic because of the because of the various rounds that they have to compete itself.
yeah,
Even though
yeah,
you qualified for the 100-meter, is it your favorite race?
yeah. 100 meters has always been my favorite race. 100 meters is mine, and then 200 meters is for the coach.
So you're not doing any 400.
No. Okay, I did 400 meters in 2019 before the corona came, before
Mm-hmm.
the corona year. I did a 400 meters of 49 at a Maram track, although it was a Maram track. So, but yeah, but I'm not a 400-meter runner.
Well, quite interestingly, when I competed in high school or in primary school, I ran the 400. And I remember one day saying to my friend, because my friend used to hate the 400, and I says, "What is the problem? It's only one lap around the track." And and
it's
and
it's one lap.
she was so furious. And it wasn't until I left high school and I got into like training with different coaches and stuff, and I was like, man, this event is actually hard. I started to
Yeah,
recognize it because I
it's
think at the time I was like, you know, whatever. Some people are just so in tune to what they're running, they don't even understand, how hard it could be when you first started. But I'm like, and I told her, I said, what is the problem? It's just one lap. And she gave me this look. I've never, until today, I remember exactly what that look is like.
yeah, with 400 meters, the problem is not that. It's not about even the racing. It
Mhm.
all starts, training is hard, and then racing again is harder.
Yes.
So it's not like 100 meters you'll train, you'll be in very good shape, and then in a race you'll just do jogging of 10.1, you jog
Yeah.
10.1 in the heats, in the semis. In 400 meters, you have to get the lactic acid out straight from the 300 meters, even though you've been training. So
Mhm.
that event it's just hard.
Now, quite interestingly, the 400, a lot of persons says, well, the 400 is the hardest event. Like seriously speaking, we know the
Yeah,
100
it
is not
is.
the
It
hardest
is.
event. It's not. Okay. Which
Yeah.
one of the events you think is the hardest event? Track and field event.
Okay, for
Well,
the
track
one
event.
that I've
That is,
seen,
track event.
yeah, track event, the one I've seen that I've experienced is the
Mhm.
400 meters. Because if you look at the training the 400-meter guys do, man, it's just something else. Because these guys do. I've done 500 meters in training,
Mhm.
and after the 400 meters, it's like I'm just walking. I just want this. I feel like the finish line has been taken far away from me,
Mhm.
and the lactic has built up. Even the legs are not just coming up. Even I mean, it's hard. 400 meters, no.
Well, I beg to
It's
differ. I think the 400-meter hurdle. At first I used to say the 400, but I think the 400-meter hurdle is a
it's
force
the same thing.
you are running a 400. you're jumping over
You're
hurdles, and
jumping
you
over
have
hurdles.
to apply speed. So I give all my hats off to all the 400-meter athletes out there.
Yeah. It
Trust me when I say,
it
I
does.
think that is the hardest race out of all the
It
events.
still, yeah, it still has 400 meters. So all
Yes.
the 400 meters was just
Applying that speed, jumping over things,
yeah.
hurdles. No, it is definitely the hardest event, the most
Hmm.
difficult event that is.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we look forward to, now it is that you're in camp, you want to share with us, the vibe the vibe exactly within the camp itself. How are you received? Are there any new lessons that you have learned? What are you looking for? Anything to bond with different, it is the spirit. The Olympic spirit is just quite interesting. You're meeting so many different cultures along the way. Um, what is the vibe like in the camp?
So at the camp here, everybody now has a winning mind, and
Winning mindset.
it's so serious here that
Mhm.
you can't get out, and nobody can get in. Even nobody can get into the camp. It's like a bubble. So you guys go to training together, even though you're doing different events, but it's like a chemistry they're trying to build inside this camp.
Yes.
And it's so disciplined. Like, I mean, these guys, like interacting with the international athletes, those guys who have signed contracts of Helen Obiri, the likes of Ferguson Chariot, the 800-meter guy, the likes of uh, who is this other lady? I'm forgetting her name. But interacting with these pro athletes, it shows how disciplined these guys are, and it gives you an experience of how important this athletics is.
So there's a lot to be learned as a first time, you know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
Ian. Did it sink in, or did it connect it with you as well? As yet, that you are in fact an Olympian now. That's an Olympian
Yeah,
attached
it
to your
does. It did sink in, because I remember when I got here, there are
name.
different games. There's boxing, there's volleyball, and you find people running at you and saying, "Yeah, that's the Omanyala, that's Omanyala." Everybody now wants to take photos with you, and I'm like, "Oh man, this
Mhm.
big."
It's
So
quite an experience. It's quite an
yeah, it is. It
experience.
is.
Yes.
It's a very great experience, but I don't want that to get into my head,
Mhm.
and so that can affect me in the next 1 month. I just want to wash that away and concentrate on my training.
So now that it is that you have you know this first experience, are you looking forward to 2024? Win or lose,
I've
win or lose
I've
2021. Are you looking forward, or beyond 2021? You're looking forward to 2024 as well. What is the future like?
I, I've not even thought about 2024 yet,
Mm-hmm.
because we have the 2021 even has not happened. So all my mind and my focus is on 2021, the Olympics
Awesome.
that you're going to run, because you never know what may happen. People
Yes.
say that people say about experience, but I don't think there's a matter of experience here. If you're fast, you're fast. If you have good mental strength, you have good mental strength. So you might get there with little experience, but then you disappoint or disapprove so many people. So all my mind and my focus is on 2021. I've even not thought about the Oregon 2022, nothing yet. It's like
And
all my mind has,
that's a fair assessment. It is a fair assessment as well. I can't knock you for your approach as well, because it is that you have athletes who go into the games thinking to themselves that, this is what I would like to do. This is what I would like to do. I'm here. I'm up against veteran athletes, and not recognizing to themselves, like, listen, I'm going to go in. I'm going to give this my all, and I am hoping for the best. And so that's your spirit. I am with you. I am going to be cheering, from wherever it is. I don't know where I'll be. Originally I said, I'm not going into Tokyo for the Olympics, but we'll see what happens. You never know. I may knock on
Thank
your
you.
door or something.
I'm going to
Excited
these games.
yet. Mhm.
I'm going to these games with the mentality that I had when I first ran my first race in
Yes.
2016.
Yes.
I was going against the veteran athletes,
Mhm.
and I won. So I'm going with the same mentality to the Olympic Games. You never know what may happen.
I appreciate your honesty. I say it's your first time, and
Yeah.
give it your best shot. Give it your best shot,
Yes.
and all of the above.
Yeah.
Now, one last question here. I know that with Africa itself, I've been doing Africa for a long time. Between the music,
Uh-huh.
so some of the viewers that are watching are actually um, persons who know that I do music, and there are some that actually know that it is that I'm involved in the track and field sport itself. But I've been doing Africa for a long time on both ends as well. And what I do know is that the tradition in most countries is that when you go home and you speak to your parent and that support that you need in terms of the Olympics, they would like to hear about the doctors and the lawyers that they would like you to come home with. So, as it pertains to sport, it's not really at the top of the list, in terms of what they're looking forward to. Do you have that support in terms of you going to the Olympics from home that's standing behind you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, this journey has not been, I've not made it this far alone. It's
Mhm,
been, it's been a lot. There have been a lot of people behind my back. I'm
mhm.
just someone who comes and showcases what the support that has been given to the people. So my parents, they are very, very supportive. They have been supportive since I started. I remember my dad was the one who bought me my first ever spikes. So he's been so
I am
supportive,
glad, and
I must say.
I am, that you have, support, because it does mean a lot,
Yeah.
especially when it is that you are at this top of your game, and you need that family support. So yes, I really applaud your family for that as well.
Thank
Um,
you. Thank you.
well, it's been a pleasure connecting with you, one on one. I I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what you go out there and do. And I am behind you. I pray for you that you will go out there and give it your best shot, and don't beat
Thanks.
yourself up
Thanks.
too much.
Yeah. You're just
Just
going there to have fun.
right. Take it
Yeah.
seriously. Take it serious that you're here and you're placed on this stage for a reason, because it is that
Yeah.
you will have a talent. Um,
Yes.
and we'll keep on watching and following, the track and field career it is that you have going on right now, because there's a lot of competition there. I won't lie to you.
Yeah, there is. There is. I have
There's
to take my A
competition.
game there.
Exactly, exactly. But it's a sport as well. There it is that you can, at the same tone, you can be at the top of your game, and last minute something, goes wrong as well. But we hope for the
Yeah.
best. Nothing but the best. We do not want to
But
hear
the
anything.
best.
Yeah, we don't even want to go down that road in terms of anything else. Um,
Yeah.
but yes, any last words before we exit?
Last word, anybody who is struggling with anything, anybody who is going through a lot, never give up. Keep
Yeah.
pushing in what you believe in. Keep working hard in what you believe in. Keep knocking those doors until they open.
That's correct. That's correct. And so to our, viewing audience and listening audience, we have tuned in with Ferdinand Omanlaya, and he is out of Kenya, 100-meter sprinter. Do watch out for him, and you look him up if you are not familiar with who he is, by all means, go out and check him out across the social media platforms. You want to plug your social media handles for the audience. That way they can follow you and big you up. as
Yes.
well.
On Facebook, it's Ferdinand Omanyala. On Instagram is Fadi Omanyala, Fadi with Ferdi Omanyala. On Twitter is Fadi Omanyala. On YouTube, I have a channel, Ferdinand Omanyala.
Awesome. So I see you're well prepared with, the various
Yeah,
social media
yeah.
platforms as well. You're prepared.
It's
I
gonna
don't
be
just,
big. It's
I
going to
love
be
it.
big, I promise you.
I love that you're prepared with your social media handles as well. So
Yes,
yes, keep
yes,
plugging
yes.
yourself because that's the age that we're in now, where it is
Thank
that
you.
social media is so celebrated. I just,
Yeah.
I just don't like when it's overdone. So to each its own. To each its own. So thanks for tuning in to all our audience, and do check us out on Sports World 2020. Sports World 2020 is available across all your local apps. You can check out on Deezer, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, where it is that you can check us out each and every week as we do bring you various athletes that are either vying for the Olympics and or their experiences as they go forward. This is Sports World 2020. I am your host, Empress Rose. Thanks for tuning in. Again, this has been Ferdinand Amanyala. Please check him out across the social media platforms. Have yourselves a
Thank you.
blessed rest of the day. Thanks for stopping by, Ferdinand. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.